I've been reading the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and while I haven't finished the book yet, I wanted to share with you what I think is the most important thing from the book so far, which is imagination, and how we need to be taking more advantage of it because it can help us progress more towards our goals. So, imagination can not only help us set the goals for ourselves to strive towards, but it can also change our self-image to the kind of person that we want to be. Imagination is so powerful that our nervous system can't even tell the difference between a real experience and an imagined one. And we can use this to our advantage, like I said, to change our self-image, to set goals, and we could also mentally practice with it. We can mentally practice shooting a basketball, throwing a dart, playing golf. We can do these actions in our head, and that will actually improve ourselves the next time we go up for that swing or that free throw. And this study really helped me understand the power of mental practicing and how imagination is actually very similar to practicing in person. So there's this study done where there are people split into 3 groups, and each group was assessed on their free throw capabilities after 20 days. So the first group, for the next 20 days, was tasked to practice for 20 minutes shooting free throws and adjusting to their mistakes. The second group was tasked to do nothing. Just do nothing and see if they can get any results at the assessment day. And the third group was not tasked to practice in person, but to practice mentally. See themselves shooting the free throw and adjusting as they miss, or if they make it, do it again in the same manner. And that's what they did. And by the time assessment day came, Group 1, which practiced for 20 minutes, showed 24% improvement. Group 2 showed no improvement, which is pretty obvious. And Group 3, which is the one that mentally practiced themselves shooting free throws, showed an improvement of 23%. That's almost the exact same as practicing in person. Hopefully this will make you realize just as much as I did on the importance of mental practicing, visualizing yourself, practicing or setting that goal, because it really is effective. It really does help ourselves strive towards that goal. And so this is what I actually do in my everyday life. I not only practice in person, which is right now practicing recording, but I also practice through visualization. And I also do this with my self-image as well, because I'm not perfect. So what I do is almost every night, before I go to bed, I'm in my bed and I'm laying down. I will begin to imagine my day the next day. So my routine, what I do for the day, and how well I do it. So I will try and explain to you what I go through in my imagination. I imagine myself getting up at the time that I set my alarm to be. I get up and I grab my dog and I try and get to my work as soon as possible. I imagine the little details in my environment to help it gain a real experience and to help my nervous system realize that this is a real experience. And then I imagine myself being in that flow state, doing the focus work and doing it well and not getting distracted. I would imagine myself excelling in scripting, recording, and editing. And I would see myself enjoying the process and rewarding myself for doing well and being in a flow state. I would imagine myself doing this routine flawlessly because that's the person that I want to become. So I'm being the person that's successfully doing the routine that I set for myself. And then I go through my day as I would. I would imagine myself, eating lunch, going to the gym, working out, walking, all of that kind of stuff. I would imagine my day and I would do it in the order that I set myself to be. And then the next day, I would actually see some reasonable improvement in my day. I would be a little bit more focused in my work. I would be telling myself, okay, no, we need to stay on routine instead of getting distracted, because that's not who you are. I start to put more of these affirmations towards the identity that I want to become. And I like this concept by James Clear. He says that every single time that you do an action or anything, you're putting a vote towards the identity that you want to become or the identity that you are right now. So every time I'm recording, I'm putting a vote towards the identity of a YouTuber. And every single time I follow my routine relatively well, I'm putting a vote towards the identity that I am a disciplined person. And sometimes I also ask myself, what would a disciplined person do? What would disciplined Sean do? All those different kinds of actions or questions that I ask myself to help me realize that, hey, yeah, I should be doing this instead of doing that. And that's what helps me improve my self-image. And while I have gotten a little bit off topic about the self-image and everything, I'll try and go back and explain to you how you can go about it and how you can try this out yourself to see if this works for you. So, like I said, sit down or lay down and relax and be as comfortable as possible. Now, I make the mistake, well, I do it deliberately, but I lay down in my bed and imagine myself the next day, or imagine myself to be the person that I want to be right before I go to bed. So I'm actually really tired at this point. So sometimes I actually fall asleep and I never actually get that full imagination in. So it's not very smart of me to do that. So maybe if you want to just sit down, or maybe just in the middle of the day you lay down, or lay down on your couch in bright daylight to help you stay awake or something like that. Just try different strategies to see which one works for you and which one doesn't. And then as you relax and become comfortable, you want to start imagining yourself being the person that you want to be. So imagine yourself acting and reacting successfully and ideally in the way that you actually want to be. So essentially, you want to see yourself being who you want to be. Kind of like a first-person mode visualization, as I like to call it, or as I like to believe it to be. You want to see yourself in that first-person mode doing whatever activity that you want to be successful at or trying to be successful at. So to give you an example, I would be first-person mode shooting free throws. I would see myself having correct form, successfully shooting the ball, and then that ball going in, and I kind of reward myself, or I kind of like smile in order to signal to my brain that I did something good. At least this is how I go about it. If you find yourself struggling to imagine yourself in that first person, or imagine yourself being that kind of person, this book actually taught me a strategy where you can just imagine yourself walking into a kind of theater and looking at a screen, and then that screen starts playing as a movie of yourself. So you're kind of watching a movie of yourself being the person that you want to be, if that makes sense. And I kind of tried this out myself, but I personally like just imagining myself like just first person mode or third person mode, whatever kind of imagination that I want to run down. And then as you are imagining, you want to try and make this imagination or mental picture as vivid and detailed as possible in order to make your nervous system believe that it's a real experience and not a fake one. So pay attention to little details. What's going around your desk or your environment? What's the sounds that are being made? Is it your dog snoring on your bed, or the clacking of your keys? All those kinds of little sounds that you would kind of pay attention to in a real world experience. This is what actually kind of makes it a real experience too. And you can also look at the objects around your environment too. So for me, I like to imagine myself looking at the screen, looking at the little letters on the document, and also the sound of the keyboard clicking. And this is kind of what makes the imagined experience a lot more real. Anyways, I just wanted to share with you what I recently learned in the book about visualization, imagination, and all of that. And yes, I have a hard time grasping all the concepts in this book, even though I only read like 95 pages. But I still believe that I'll be able to understand this book a lot better as I start to read more through it and implement what it teaches me. And I'll try and teach you more about what I've learned in this book. But this is what I think is the most important so far. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you gained some value from it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.